And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today we're going to be doing our Week 0 college football preview. We're also going to be sharing some additional preseason thoughts from the NFL. This is probably going to be one of the last tape shows that we do for a while. I think that, I don't know exactly if we'll get one more in this week, but after Week 0 and when we're leading up to Week 1 of the college football season, we're going to eventually start going live Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of that. Also, drop a comment below. What do you think is going to happen during Week 0 for Montana State versus New Mexico, and for Florida State versus Georgia Tech, as well as some thoughts on your favorite teams during the NFL preseason? Before we get to those topics, though, Sean, can you share with our listeners a word from our friends over at BetOnline?
I'd love to, and I'll say this. It was fun doing some live betting with Joe this Friday.
They took our money.
It was fun. We tried to snipe a line in the Padres-Rockies game, and then the Padres pissed down their legs for 4 straight innings, which was rough.
Yeah.
Didn't love that. But what I tell you at the bar, what I tell you I was going to do on Saturday after losing that $5 on that game, is how I'm going to make it back on some preseason football. And that's exactly what I did. 5 to win 11, taking the Ravens, the Bears, and the Texans, won it back, and now I'm up $1.40.
You parlayed 3 preseason games together to, oh my God. We're getting dangerously close to calling the phone
And
number.
I did it at BetOnline. This is where you need to be doing your gambling. This is where if you're sitting down watching a game, it made our experience better at the bar. Instead of going around and hollering at a bunch of women, we sat together and drank and watched an awful baseball game. And
that was a terrible baseball game. That was a really bad baseball game. And we also had some very nice people that wanted to talk to you at the bar.
Yeah.
They were very friendly.
Yeah, they were. They were friendly enough. The people trying to talk to you were rather unfriendly with the bumping.
No. Yeah, well, nobody tried to talk to me, but there was. Yeah, we're not going to get into the specifics of. Continue the read, though.
Yeah, I'll continue the read. You keep on talking to that friendly, I'm sure. Regardless, BetOnline, that's where you want to be getting your action in when the game's over. They also have their online casino, play a game of blackjack or poker, and they have over 150 slots games as well. Head to the website today and use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
We've only been out together solo once since we've moved in here. And so far, you are just doing so poorly on the quality of girls that approach you at the bar. That's all I'm going to leave it at. I was laughing my ass off.
Look, man.
And it's a little mean, but we need to improve this ratio. You used to have a little bit of the
I would love to.
easy approach in college where girls would come up to you, but that was not happening for you.
I wasn't on demon time, and I was not really in the mood to be engaging with a demon, so I kind of moved past it about as friendly as I could.
I don't know. Never mind. We're going to move past it. All right, we got college football to talk about for
demon category, brother.
Our fellow football degenerates that are excited that we've got Week 0 coming up. There's 2 games that we're going to highlight today. Don't really feel like it's worth getting to SMU versus Nevada. SMU, I'm kind of intrigued to see some things, but Nevada's been a pretty weak program as of late, so that's going to be pretty Mustang heavy. The Delaware State versus Hawaii game, I was contemplating it, but I kind of just want to watch that one at midnight on Saturday and just enjoy that. Not much to really preview there. Our attention, though, being primarily an FCS show. We're going to talk about Montana State versus New Mexico. And then, of course, we got to get to the big game, which is the initial kickoff game in Ireland. We've got FSU versus Georgia Tech. This game, Sean, I think is not going to unfold as many just general football fans would expect when you look at both of these logos. And if you haven't been paying attention and you've been living under a rock during the offseason, you're going to look and say, this is going to be a blowout. I'm sure Florida State's just going to blow past them. I think we forget that this field that they're playing on in Ireland is a slow field. It's a grass field, and there's always typically bad weather. I'm going to check in a second what the weather is supposed to be there this upcoming Saturday. But I really don't think this is going to be very high scoring, nor do I think Florida State's just going to blow past them. This feels like one of those games where it's going to be grind you out. It's going to be a lot of running the football on both sides. I think Florida State wins it pretty handedly to just kind of get to my lead of how I'm predicting this game to play out. But I don't know if this has Florida State blowing them out by 20-plus points written all over it.
Oh, no, the 20-plus point blowout is already being scripted in the SMU-Nevada game, with SMU being a 27-point favorite. Florida State,
11.
11.
Yeah. Is it 11 straight or 11 and a half?
11 straight right now, minus 455 on the money line, plus 365 for Georgia Tech. If you're feeling scrappy in week 0, that is a number placer right there. I am excited to see Florida State fans in Ireland and see if they can hold up with the drinking over there. I think that they are a rowdy enough bunch.
They're not like Nebraska fans who, do you remember, I think it was 2 years ago when the
stadium ran out of beer.
No. The internet in the stadium shut down. So they just started handing out beers.
That's right. That's right. Gosh. A bunch of,
all right, we don't know what to do. Here's all the free beer. I mean, sure, Florida State fans would be excited if that happened.
Yeah, Florida State fans don't feel like the typical Euro travelers, but I hope they have a good time. I think that Florida State's going to have a tougher year than they had last year. They're not as deep as a team, in my opinion, and I think they want to get it set off with the right tone, with a win against a somewhat gimme opponent from Georgia Tech. And I know you're higher on Georgia Tech this year than most people would be, or at least you're giving more respect to the Yellow Jackets than at least I would, because I see the helmets. It has to be a Florida State win. That it's going to be, I think, a snoozer. I don't think it's going to be like you were saying, a 20, 30-point blowout, but I think it's going to be pretty boring, and I think that Georgia Tech might get held up to a low amount of points.
So to that point on the weather, it is supposed to rain.
Oh, very nice.
Multiple days prior. So Thursday and Friday, there is a decent chance of rain. It's supposed to be clear on Saturday, which is good. It's not going to be like last year and the year before where there was rain during kickoff, before kickoff, around game time. But to this point, I have a feeling this is going to be a little bit of a boring game. Is that going to stop me from watching it? Absolutely not. Is it going to stop me from betting on this game and being extremely juiced up to just be sitting on my couch and rot? Actually, we're not going to be sitting on our couch. We're going to be sitting here and rotting with you. And you can tune in for the watch along. This is going to be just good to see the perspective of what is Florida State going to be like offensively. This is going to be a total 180 from what they had with Jordan Travis last year, where they were able to take some shots deep. They were attacking the sidelines because they had these two massive jump ball threats in Johnny Wilson, in Keon Coleman. There has been, from what I was reading, a little bit of an exercise to figure out who is the premier receiver that they can go with. It seems like there's a lot less of a question mark on the running back room. There's multiple running backs that they're going to lean on. If you went back and watched the spring game, there was a lot of option plays where DJU was being incorporated as a rusher. I really think that this game we're going to see a different version of Alex Atkins' offense at Florida State, and they're just going to try to pound the rock. And why I'm saying this is going to be boring is because it's going to be a lot of first down rushing play, second down rushing play, third and short rushing play. We're just going to run the ball, start to feel this rhythm, start to see what works, and then maybe build some things off of it based on the success that we're having. I also feel pretty good. I don't know if I'd rush to the book to bet it, but I feel pretty good about Florida State covering that 11-point spread. One of the other pieces that I read today was creating an analogy for Florida State's offense this year and saying it's going to be more Big Ten-esque in the way that they think it will be run the ball, build a lead, bleed the clock.
Yeah.
So I love the under, which is, I think, 56.
55 right now.
Oh, so it's moved. Oh, it's been moving. It was originally 56.5 when I was looking at it on Friday. So that has moved. I really like the under, and then I also really like the idea of Florida State covering this game.
I like that your rationale that they're just going to run it out. I don't believe that Florida State's going to want to show all the tools that they've been working on. It's going to be pretty fundamentals up and down the board from them. And then I I gave DJU a little bit of flack this offseason, not believing that Florida State's going to get to 10 wins, even though I still don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think he can run an offense to beat Georgia Tech, and that's all I need to see him do. And I'm hoping throughout the year, DJU grows on me. He's exciting. He has a great frame. He has a lot of the intangibles that I like in quarterbacks, but he hasn't gotten the job done the way I've preferred or would have wanted to see him do it yet. So Florida State, let's get it. Let's try it again. We're back on the East Coast. Try it again, DJU. Try to move the ball. Try to limit the bad decisions. And warming up with Georgia Tech, I think, will be a good start for them.
Right. It's not like Notre Dame last year where they played Navy and there was a lot of false confidence that was the result of that performance, that suddenly there was this belief that things were going to be fine offensively. And that was nowhere near indicative of how they were going to play later on in the year, especially in the games where they had total duds against Louisville and against Clemson. I think that you do get this opportunity to face off with an ACC foe and start to get a sense of what is going to work for you. Again, I'm really focused on learning, is this Florida State team going to struggle a little bit early on? Is this going to be a messy game? Are they going to have some missteps, or are they going to just power through Georgia Tech? On the Georgia Tech side of things, I think that it's easy to knock Haynes King because of the goofy throwing motion that he used to have that's improved a little bit. I think he's better than people really give him credit for, and I think he's going to be impactful in this game. But where I think there's just going to be a huge area of separation, Georgia Tech's defensive line and front seven is nowhere near as good as Florida State's front seven. It sounds like that linebacker room's gotten better, and their edge rushers, Patrick Payton, Marvin Jones Jr., I think that they're going to cause a lot of problems. If there is potential for Georgia Tech to really have issues moving the ball, I could totally see that in this game. And again, slow field, guys are slipping. It's hard to really get some traction on a field like this. Mm-hmm. If you've got those big bodies in the middle that are just pressing your offensive line for moving off the line of scrimmage, it could be a long day for them.
Yeah, they could just clog it up. I think first week, it wouldn't surprise me if I saw Georgia Tech go down, score, and it's 7-7 in the end of the first quarter. That wouldn't surprise me, but it would surprise me if it's still a close game at the half. And for Florida State, I think if the fans saw two complete drives from them where they marched, they scored a touchdown, some chunk plays, a couple good runs, maybe a deep pass, and one of those two drives where it really looks like, hey, this is our A drive. We're not going to go out here and give a B- drive or a C+ drive just to bleed the clock. I need to see a couple A drives for them for me to really start buying the hype, because people are still have some hype around Florida State this year because they do have Patrick Payton, who's going to be fun to watch. And I think, I think it's going to be a lot of more independent scouting for this game opposed to full team-on-team analysis.
Well, to get to that too, everyone who, for some reason, there is, and maybe it stems from Florida State's reaction to missing the playoff and how upset that the fan base was. A lot of media folks are kind of taking this opportunity for where they've been ranked in a lot of the polls right now to just keep shitting on them. I think that this is an opportunity you need to come out and say, hey, you guys might keep claiming that we're going to finish the year unranked, which a lot of people keep doing, which is weird. Yeah. I don't think that they're that weak. They've definitely taken a step back at some position groups, but to imply that they'd go unranked at the end of the year is kind of nuts for me. But this is the real shot for them to come out and say, hey, y'all want to doubt us? Y'all want to keep crapping on us?
Yeah.
We're better than you think that we are. We're coming out punching Georgia Tech in the mouth, and we're about to do the same thing to the rest of the conference when we face off with everybody.
I think that there's always going to be some pushback if you're a school that makes their own championship T-shirts after the season and they don't win the championship. And I think there's some Florida State fans that truly believe it, and I think that they should believe it, and they can have the shirt. But there's going to be pushback if you make that effort. If you say, hey, we were the 2024 deserving national champion. Oh, that does nothing for me in the record books. It does nothing for me. That's lower than seeing a baseball player with an asterisk next to their home run total. That's lower respect than that in my book. So seeing that, I think that it did make them almost. You were a little less sympathetic towards Florida State's woes at the end of the season after seeing that.
So the summation of our thoughts here We're both on the same page. We think that Florida State wins this game. We think that there's a strong chance they cover. It might not be a super potent offensive day for either team. We're on the same page here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now to talk about Montana State, our good friends over there in Montana. They're facing off with New Mexico. I'm actually excited about this one because this is a week that I have always yearned for, an opportunity for a premier FCS team to face off with a team that, one, they can beat, and two, on week 0 to be able to show everybody like, hey, we're worth watching. When there's no other games on and we're on TV, tune in, flip on the TV. Montana State's freaking fun. Or if it was South Dakota State or North Dakota State. I remember not a couple years ago, I think it was like in 2016, there was a game when I had just committed to Rhode Island. And I want to say it was week 0. And it was like one of the standalone games where North Dakota State played Montana. And that was when Carson Wentz was playing. And that was when I really got engrossed in watching the FCS games. When you have those standalone opportunities, it just expands the exposure. But to talk about this game, man, I really think that New Mexico is going to get wiped by Montana State. I don't think New Mexico knows what's coming for them.
I mean, it's two good FCS teams playing each other here.
There's a lot of turnover that happened for New Mexico and roster turnover. I really think that there's going to be an ass whooping that happens here by Montana State.
Not only roster, but coach turnover also. Bronco Mendenhall now leading the Lobos. Montana State, it's crazy to say, I think is a favorite. They have to be a favorite in my mind. What I'm going to be watching for, it's going to be... There's no more Sean Chambers. There's no more quarterback switch in, switch out. It's Tommy Malot's show. And is he ready to be the star of the show? Is he ready to fully command the offense? Whether it be, hey, I'm going to be Tommy Malott running up and down the field, or Tommy Malott, now I'm throwing it more. However they decide to evolve with him at quarterback, I'm so excited to see. And it's a huge first step going up against a G5 team. Sure, it's not a great G5 team, but it's a winnable game, and it would be a respectable game if they did win it. So keeping an eye on him this year. I mean, they're my favorites for a reason. I really think that Montana State could go out there and beat them by 10 to 20
I forgot that you put
points.
them as your number one.
This would be a huge game for them to start the momentum and say, hey, we are here. We are not going to be in the A- tier anymore. We are in the top 4, cement it, log it, and let's get the season going. So seeing how Malott shows up and how they decide to use him without any interference from another good quarterback, that is so interesting to me.
You bring up a good point here with Malott. The rotation that they used to have made them so hard to keep up with. And I don't know if that there's any aspiration with any of the other quarterbacks in the roster to maybe do that again, but I would kind of doubt that would be the
hope
direction.
not. I would hope they try to just hey, we have one guy now. We don't have a plethora of riches. We have one rich. Let's try to make something with it.
We talked about when we did that ranking show how stout they were up front on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to be very, very physical along the line of scrimmage. I really think that is where there's going to be some eye-openers from fans who do tune into this game and say, whoa, there is a real bloodbath going on here along the lines of scrimmage. I am really curious, just for Montana State's sake, for just the general outlook of the season, what does their offensive line look like? Because they are, as we mentioned, there is a lot of turnover that's happening there. There are a lot of new faces that are coming in because they put out a bunch of dudes that transferred up to the FBS and took on opportunities to play for bigger programs. So now with all these new faces, has their general recruiting and roster development at offensive line, is it good enough for Montana State to just hit the ground running and their run game to be as dominant as it was last year? People forget, and this is something to pay attention to. Again, I don't really have like a betting pick for this game because I don't like any of the lines. But if you were to take it, pay attention to the fact that this was one of the highest scoring offenses in FCS football last year. And this New Mexico team is really not far off from anything that they would have been facing on their schedule.
I take it easy on New Mexico. They beat UMass by 3 last year. They were 4-8. They stunk.
Was it New Mexico or New Mexico State?
I was thinking about the week 0 game with one of the New Mexico schools last year that lost to UMass. UMass beat New Mexico State in week 0, and then UMass then lost to New Mexico 4 weeks later. But that was a huge I couldn't believe it. I actually had a bet on New Mexico State that game. That was tragic. UMass coming out the gates hot. Who could have guessed it? Regardless, I will be keying in on the offensive line for Montana State. I want to see how they're operating. It's going to be another high-paced, a lot of outside zone, a lot of push, not as much move back, pass protect that they use. But I think the offensive lines really start getting fleshed out around week 5 or 6 because you're kind of hoping that everyone stays healthy. It's unrealistic to go into a season expecting all 5 guys to be at the same positions by week 12. So seeing how they operate, seeing if they can stick together, seeing if the scheme is good enough for someone to come in and fill in case of injury is big for me. But I still think that they can get it done. And New Mexico hasn't given me much fear instilled, I guess. I'm not worried about them if I'm a Montana State fan. I'm just not.
Yeah, New Mexico feels like one of those programs that's just kind of still there. Not really putting
They're hanging around.
A ton of effort in. Bronco Mendenhall is a pretty good coach, but yeah, I don't really have much of an expectation for them. I really, really want Montana State to just smoke them. Like, I really think that would be so freaking fun if they just blew past them.
It's a big possibility. I think touchdown first drive, Montana State, then maybe a stall, couple turnovers from New Mexico, and then the game is lost. It's out of hand. And third quarter, it's who's the FCS team and all that shtick going on. And let's take a look at what's going on next week already. And we still have another half of football. Yeah. That'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how much FCS coverage is provided throughout this game, or if it sticks to G5. And next week Georgia makes their debut. And
well, it's on CBS Sports. No, wait, what channel is it on?
Should know this. Why don't I know this?
Should know this because I think CBS Sports Network is the other game. It's FS1. The SMU games on CBS Sports Network. Delaware State Hawaii is not even on a TV channel. How are you even supposed to watch that?
I don't know. That's awful. Delaware State Hawaii. I won't watch it. I don't care. I know you're saying you're going to sit up and watch it. I won't. I won't watch Delaware State play.
I'm actually not totally sure. You can get a ticket for $15. I'm going to fly to Hawaii. It is pretty cool that Montana State's a 9-point favorite going into this game. I will say this. The one thing that did entice me, maybe taking the over at 53.5, but that's a little aggressive. Ooh. Dude, they were hanging some crazy point totals on teams last year. I know
they averaged over 40 points a game. They were number 1 in the FCS.
On their own. The other part of this too, team total, I was looking on one book on Friday before a media hit in case they asked me about it, because I was trying to have a betting pick. I kind of like the idea of a team total if you can get it around like 29, because that was what the one book was providing, and it had plus 100-something odds. If you can get around like 28, 29, maybe 30, there's a little spicy for me.
I don't mind it, though. I think it's going to be a long game. A lot of chances for Montana State to just run the ball down the field.
It has a much more illustrious location than Dublin, Ireland. This is going to be played in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, that's our week 0 preview. Man, I'm so goddamn excited that these games are back.
It feels it was a long summer. You don't, and I
longer
know
than usual.
The football fan, it feels longer and longer. And all these people that say milk this summer, have fun. I have fun early summer. I don't know why. That's where my fun happens. It happens in like May. I took a trip in late April to Florida. Did some fishing, some golfing. Some fun in June.
Yeah.
But July and August, it's like I'm over it. I need the football back, and maybe that's also due in part to the habit and thinking August is the no fun time because of camp for 4 years, or I guess 8 years, including high school, where August was just a dead month. So I haven't really known what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands in this month, but it felt so long, and I don't care what the games are. They're back, and then in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, NFL is back, and then everything's right again. It feels like everything's just going to be right this year for football.
And to usher football being back, as we've alluded to, week 0, we're going to be live on this channel for the entirety of the Florida State versus Georgia Tech game. Make sure that you don't miss out on that live stream. Come hang out with us, and we're going to be watching the game